Today, survivors of the deadly Florida high school shooting are taking their cause for gun control to the national as well as the state capitol. 100 students from the Parkland High School are meeting with leaders in Tallahassee. The Boston Athletic Association estimated that this year, the charity fundraising by marathon runners will be $35 million, and the race will generate more than $200 million economic impact to the greater Boston area. For BU News Service, I'm Xia Xue. At the Boston University, Chinese Student Association is holding a second annual Singles Day, and over 100 students are attending this event. For students at Boston University, Singles Day is not only about celebrating singlehood, but also about embracing diverse ethnicities and culture. From BU News Service, I'm Xia Xue. The city of Boston is paying a $5 million settlement to the family of a boy drowned during city-round summer camp session almost 2 years ago. The family of Kezar Willis filed a wrongful death suit because staff members failed to prove the 7-year-old with a life jacket. The boy could not swim. The body washed ashore along Carson Beach 4 hours after campers reported his disappearance to staff members at the community center. Loyola Chicago team chaplain Sister Jean threw out first pitch at the Chicago Cubs home opener against the Pittsburgh Pirates. 98-year-old Sister Jean made it underhand toss from her wheelchair, and the ball bounced to the home plate. Stoneman Douglas High School students returned to their Florida school today, 2 weeks after a teenager opened fire and killed 17 people. The class schedule started with 4 periods so students and teachers could start the day with the people they were with during the shooting. Students are not allowed to bring backpacks today and are struggling to get back to the school's routine. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there were over 41,000 suicides in 2013 in the U.S. More than 250 people are dead after a plane crash in Algeria. The deadliest plane crash since 2014 took place early this morning near the country's capital of Algiers. 10 of the victims were crew members on the military plane that was found outside the Boufarak Air Base.
Syrians are welcome here.
In today's political environment, Muslims are stigmatized as the Supreme Court upholds Trump's travel ban and protests against it sweep the country. John Robbins, the executive director of the Massachusetts chapter of Council on American Islamic Relations, advocates civil rights for the Muslim community. He says that the political environment has affected the Muslim community at the local level and that hostility exists across Massachusetts as well.
We've documented 2017 and 2018 to be the 2 most significant years on record of anti-Muslim hate crimes in our country, and Massachusetts is no exception. Last year, our office received on average of a call every single weekday from people who had faced discrimination or harassment. We've seen a huge spike in cases involving Muslim youths who are having their headscarves pulled off in hallways, who are facing discrimination by their peers, who are even in some cases dropping out of school because of such severe discrimination.
Like Muslims as a group, American Muslim women today are also facing misconceptions and stereotypes related to their faith and culture. And what's it like being a Muslim woman?
To be a Muslim woman is to be somebody who is always thinking about what you're wearing and what you're doing and how you're performing, especially in a context where you're a minority.
According to the 2018 American Muslim poll carried out by the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding, Muslim women are more likely to experience both religious and racial discrimination.
I think that by and large Americans are very open-minded and very welcoming people. I will say that incidents of Islamophobia continue, and I think particularly right after Trump's election. I heard lots of stories of, one of my friends had a swastika painted on her window, and she's a Muslim woman who wears hijab. I had friends who were yelled at on the street. But in spite of those incidents, I think by and large, I have felt welcome in Boston.
Nancy Khalil, an assistant professor at the Department of American Culture at the University of Michigan, studied the Muslim community in Boston and has been researching the politics of American Islam.
You have the politics of being a woman, and then you have the politics of being a Muslim, and then you may have the politics of your race or your skin color on top of that. So when you have those three together, that can be a lot for people to handle on a day-to-day basis.
Muslim women who are recognizable by the public are those who wear a head cover or hijab. The 2018 American Muslim poll also shows that 46% of Muslim women in this country wear the hijab to show their faith, while 35% never wear a head cover. Well, what does hijab really mean to Muslim women?
It's something that's creating some privacy from others. That's the original meaning of that word. The way that it's used today commonly in the US is to refer to the headscarf that's on our heads.
There are many different types of head covers. It's often worn as a symbol of privacy, modesty, or fashion.
Some people wear very colorful scarves. Some people don't necessarily wear a scarf that's very tightly wrapped. The hair can still show. Some people wear it in a way where it's, tied up at the top, and others wear it where it's pinned really tight around the face. It really depends. Are you in Southeast Asia or South Asia or in East Asia or in Africa? The way that it's worn takes a different identity, and in the US, that's emerging too.
Salma Kazmi is an acting executive director of the Islamic Society of Boston Cultural Center and the founder of the Boston Islamic Seminary, training religious leaders to serve the American Muslim community. Kazmi believes that the hijab has a special meaning.
I believe that men and women are equal before God. A lot of people will look, for example, at the headscarf and say that that is an unequal treatment. I think women who observe the headscarf consider it as an observance that they're doing as an honor to God and following religious dictates, and also as a means of elevating their character and their personality rather than focusing so much on their physical appearance.
Another finding by the ISPU poll, 54% said they wear a head cover for religious obligation, 21% for showing their Muslim identities, 12% for modesty, and only 1% were requested by family to do so. However, the stereotype that women are forced to wear the hijab still exists.
I was asked, did your father or your husband make you wear the hijab? You're asking that because there's this assumption that as a woman I don't have agency and don't have the ability to make my own choices, which is what's constantly spread in the media, that Muslim women don't have this capacity, right? But if we look at what women wear in general, I don't know what dad hasn't fought with his daughter over shorts that are too short, right? Men are fighting with women constantly across all faiths over what they wear, including the hijab. And so it's not a matter of this oppressive, violent thing that people want to assume. It's just the politics of loving relationships where one person thinks that this is a vulnerable state to be in, and the other thinks this is my choice and my independence, and you can't, restrain me from expressing that.
You do not malign the whole religion.
A 2017 Pew Research Center survey shows that, like the majority of the American public, 68% of Muslim women believe the media coverage of Muslims and Islam is unfair.
What I hope the media starts to do more is to send that message that, Muslim women are as diverse as all women, and they have aspirations like all women, and they have different skills and talents like all women, and that you can't lump them all into this one category, and you can't apply these racist assumptions either. Muslim women are all over the media. Muslim women are often tokenized in the media. Muslim women are used to perpetuate different racist tropes in the media.
According to a study by Megan Stone, an entrepreneurship fellow at Harvard University and the president of the Malala Fund, when Muslims are the topic of major network newscasts, they speak for themselves only 3% of the time. The result? There's a major lack of authentic Muslim voices in mainstream media.
Muslim women are also taking ownership of the media. They're speaking for themselves increasingly. They're using social media to get their stories out. The diversity of all of that is also emerging in the media if you're looking for it.
Muslim women have started to speak out for themselves and reclaim their identities. MuslimGirl.com, a popular blog launched in New Jersey, has attracted tens of thousands of followers.
The images are definitely improving, which is great. I think that there was a time, and this still happens today, where Muslim women and Muslims in general are otherized. They're seen as foreign, they're seen as violent, they're seen as really antithetical to American culture, and that isn't just true of Muslims. I think that globally we have to think in terms of human beings and the commonality of human beings.
Something the media tries to do is to bring in as many different kinds of Muslim voices as it can, but I think where it often becomes challenging is for it to make sure the message is clear that this is a perspective, not the perspective, and people are looking for the perspective all the time.
Understanding and engaging with the Muslim community is the best way to tackle existing stereotypes and to bring about positive change.
I would encourage each listener to stand up and say, what can I do personally? How can I better know my Muslim neighbor? How can I better understand the Muslim community locally? And it really starts with the individual level of making sure that we know one another.
Eric Pinos, an MIT student, organizes weekly Bitcoin and blockchain workshops. Blockchain is a new technology that cryptocurrency is based on and works like an online distributed ledger. He bought Bitcoin in 2017, and the price has increased about 3,000% since then.
Many people say that's not a smart move, some say it's really risky, but for me it's not really trying to make money off of my investment. For me, it's making a statement that I really believe in digital money.
Bitcoin is not the only cryptocurrency. AirFox, a startup company in Boston, has developed Air Token, a cryptocurrency that can be used for providing financial services to people without bank accounts. Last year, AirFox raised $1.5 million through initial coin offering.
At least in our ICO, you don't have any equity in the company, you're not a traditional investor, and really you're just getting access to the token. That's what you're getting. Whether that's a good purchase or a bad purchase is up to the person who's involved in cryptocurrency.
Professor William Grimes at Boston University studies how Bitcoin and blockchains impact global governance. He believes that cryptocurrency can reduce the transaction cost, but there are risks of cryptocurrency.
It's problematic as a store of value because the price goes up and down. So much of it is now being driven by speculation. And it has the management of the supply is also kind of arbitrary.
The price of Bitcoin has fallen 60% in January this year. Cryptocurrency is also tied with illegal activity such as extortion, money laundering, tax evasion, and contraband transaction.
We tried our best to self-regulate, work with our lawyers, create our own policies, anti-money laundering, know your customer, that's KYC, QIB, qualified institutional buyer, like all these different things we're trying to do, but there's really no guidance or framework to do it. So we do our best, I guess.
For BUTV, I'm Xiaxue. Every weekend, liquor stores and bars in Austin are crowded with Boston University students. Since September 2017, the Boston University Police Department has carried out more patrols to oversee over-drinking and underage drinking.
So we're more like the pointy end of the stick, really. We're kind of, we're going to stop as many people as we can that are underage, possessing alcohol and usually transporting.
According to the department, so far during the fall semester, 71 students were transported to hospitals for binge drinking. Compared to the past 3 years, the number has declined. Police officers said that at least 80% of those students transported to hospital are under 21, the legal drinking age in Massachusetts.
We have people assigned to work at night to do that, but if people are buying alcohol in the morning or in the afternoon, we're really not affecting that. And the other thing too is like if they're drinking in the Gardner Asher Pratt area, we don't really have any jurisdiction really over there to do. We're not going house to house to stop things.
Fraternity and sorority communities play important roles in college students' life. 13% of Boston University students are involved in these organizations. A study by American Psychology Association shows that students in Greek systems tend to drink more heavily than non-Greek students.
My opinion, well, I definitely think it's a problem, but to be completely honest, I think it's a problem on college campuses in general. I think that Greek organizations historically have facilitated like the consumption of alcohol, but I think that it's not just a Greek life issue. It's a sports athletics issue. It's like a theater issue. There's multiple organizations that participate in binge drinking, and it's also something that just college students participate with in general.
According to National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, every year, about 1,800 college students die from alcohol-related injuries, and about 97,000 students experience alcohol-influenced sexual assaults.
I tend to believe personally that most, alcohol is definitely a factor in most sexual assaults, like here.
A 2001 research study found that alcohol consumption and sexual assault are frequently linked. The government study found that about 50% of cases involve alcohol consumption by the perpetrator, the victim, or both. However, this does not mean that alcohol use necessarily causes sexual assault.
I think it goes beyond alcohol. I think alcohol definitely blurs the lines and makes it difficult, but I think there's a lot that goes into it.
To combat binge drinking, Boston University prohibits alcohol-related hazing in any student organization, and it requires first-year students take an online alcohol course.
The issues with Greek life have been horrible lately, and people have lost their lives because of alcohol and hazing, and I think that the stance that universities are taking on it is really important. And I've been in really close communication with the deans about their expectations of us and what standards we uphold ourselves to. And I think that BU is on a really good path to making sure that we don't fall into these strategies that are happening.
Well, education is helpful. And when students are found responsible for having violated the alcohol policy, we would typically expect the student to attend, to receive some education at wellness and prevention services.
Students who call for help for themselves or their friends will not receive disciplinary sanctions from the university.
It's important that that students not perceive that calling for help could lead to consequences through the conduct process.
I understand that drinking is a part of the university lifestyle. And people that want to drink will find a way to get alcohol. So my advice to everybody is to, if you're going to drink alcohol, is that you need to protect yourself.
For BU News Service, I'm Xia Xue.